Hey there. Welcome to the Author's Way podcast, a journey to finding your voice. My name is Jennifer Wright, and I am your podcast host. And I am so excited to have you listening today. This has been such an amazing journey. We are now on episode 5 of the podcast. And I have really enjoyed taking on this project. I have enjoyed the people that I have had a chance to interview, and I've got some really cool interviews coming up soon. I think you're going to really enjoy them. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about time. When I talk to people who want to become authors, who already are authors and are working on their second book, time is one of the things that comes up the most. We are all busy. We all only have 24 hours in a day, and that time gets taken up so quickly with family commitments and work commitments and friends and things that we have to do in our lives, things that we have to take care of. A lot of us have aging parents. We have small children. We have all kinds of things that come up that pull us away from the things that we really want to get done. So today we're going to talk about just some things that I have learned over the past, some things that I've learned from other people, some methods that they use to help kind of manage time so that we all can find the time and the energy to do these things that we want to do. And many of us, that thing that we want to do is get our book done. We have lots of ideas, we have lots of information to share, and we want to get that out into the world. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get into that, though, I want to remind you that this podcast is sponsored by Wright. We are a book writing, ghostwriting, and book consulting firm. We help authors, both published and unpublished, to get more visibility for their careers, for their businesses, by helping them to take all the information that they have in their heads and all of their skills and expertise and get those words out into the world to help teach other people, to help share inspiration, to help build credibility. We do that through book writing, publishing, and then marketing our books. We use the self-publishing methodologies mostly in our company. So if you have a book that's in your head, in your heart, in your soul, and you really want to figure out how to get it out into the world, go head over to our website, execuwright.com. Check out the information we have. You can reach out to us to schedule a strategy session. I would love to hear your story and hear what you have to share. So that's execuwright.com, EXECUWRIGHT.com. So let's get started. So time management or just finding time is a big challenge. It can be a big challenge for some of us. It's something I talk to a lot of people about, and it can be very frustrating. And that frustration then kind of leads us to slow down and sometimes to even stop the progress that we're making. I know I have dealt with it myself personally. I tell myself, I just don't have time to do that. And in reality, if I shifted some things around, if I put some more focus on some other priorities, I absolutely could find the time to do it. So just wanted to share with you some things that I've learned over the years and some things that I've learned from others. So I heard a really lovely story the other day about Maya Angelou. If you're familiar with Maya Angelou, you know that she was a very prolific writer. She wrote, I believe it was 4 different memoirs and a number of books of poetry. So she had a lot of work published over her life. And so I heard this story about her. So she was like all of us. She actually did not publish her first book until she was in her 40s. So she didn't start out doing this. She worked, she had jobs. She had things that she had to do. And she lived in a very contentious time in our history. So there were a lot of things going on during that time that really affected her. But she was determined to write these books. She had stories that she wanted to share with the world. And she knew that they're important stories, and they would help lots of people. So she was very committed to writing her stories. So one of the things that she did was she kept these note cards with her, and pieces of paper with her. And anytime she found an opportunity to write, she wrote. She would even, when she was driving, going to work or going somewhere, she would, if she got stopped at a red light, she would pull out her note cards and she would write. In the couple of minutes that she had to sit at the red light, she would write. So she found ways to do that, even though she had so many other things happening in her life. So that was very, when I heard that story, that was very inspirational to me. So it made me think that, it doesn't have to be structured time. It doesn't have to be planned time. It can just be when a thought comes to me, I can find that time to write. So, and that's one of the things that I have found very helpful for myself. So what I do is I keep note cards. I like the note cards that don't have any lines on them because I don't like to stay in between the lines. The lines just distract me. So I get the blank note cards, and I keep different sizes, the small ones, the large ones. I also keep these notebooks. I love these Moleskine notebooks. If you've not ever used them, check them out. They are great to me. I use the soft, you can get hardcover and soft cover. I get the soft cover kind, and I also get the kind that don't have lines on them because, again, it distracts me. And so I keep these small ones. I think the ones that I use the most, they look like they're maybe 4 by 6. I buy several at a time. So I keep one on my desk. I keep one in the living room. I keep one by my bed. I keep one in my purse and one in my laptop bag, so that I always have something to write in. And if I'm sitting in a coffee shop having a cup of coffee, I can pull it out and write down some thoughts. If I'm waiting on a friend at a restaurant, I can pull it out and write. I always make sure that I have an ample supply of pens and pencils. In the last episode, I talked about writing by hand. I like using pencils because I like the scratching. I like the texture of it. I've also found that the really good felt tip pens give me that same kind of texture when I'm writing. So I like keeping a supply of those as well. And I'll keep, different colored pens and pencils because sometimes I'm just in the mood to write in green. Sometimes I'm in the mood to write in purple. So I found for myself what works for me. And I think that's one of the things to be important. That's important when you're trying to find that time, is that you have an ample supply of supplies around you wherever you are, so that when you have a free 10 minutes, you have what you need to be able to do that. So you don't have to schedule time. You don't have to sit down and say, okay, I have 2 hours. I'm going to write for the next 2 hours. you don't have to do that. It can be whenever the thought comes to you, whenever whenever a few minutes comes up. The next thing that's important, so making sure that you're okay with just grabbing a pen and paper whenever you have the time and have that stuff with you. That's the first thing. The second thing is making sure that you know when you have a few minutes, having something to write about. So if you're trying to finish a book, or you're trying to write a blog, or you're trying to write some kind of content, it's helpful to have those topics with you so that when you have a free 10 minutes, you don't have to search your brain for something to write about. So one of the things that I do is if I'm working on a book, for instance, I will have a list of all my chapters, and then I may have all of the chapters outlined. I may have a handful of the chapters outlined, but then what I'll do is I'll take what I have so far, and I will write note cards on each topic. So I'll take a note card. I usually use these smaller ones. These, I guess they're 3x5. And I write down a topic on each one of the note cards, so that if I find myself having an extra, 15 minutes to work on something, I can just pull out a note card and it gives me a topic to write about. Now, that may not be the topic I want to write about right now, so then I just pull out another note card. So it prompts me for something to work on. You don't even necessarily have to work on your current project. There's something to be said about just practicing. So sometimes when you have a free 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you might just want to practice. And if that's the case, I have found this really, really great tool. It is called, now there's several of these out in the market like this, and there's several books that are out there, but they're writing prompts. So this one is called Wordsmith Desk, a rule for writing. And it has a little tagline: less writer's block, more writing. So if you find yourself blocked and you can't think of something to write, these tools are really great because it gives you a start. So I'm just going to pull out one of the cards. This is a deck of cards. I'm just going to pull out one of the cards right now. So on this card I just pulled out, it says, "What isn't fair right now?" So it just gives you a little prompt, and now you have a topic to write about. So in the few minutes that you have, or maybe even if you've blocked off an hour to write, but you sit down and you don't know what to write about, you can grab these cards or grab one of their books out there that have this information, and grab one of those tools and pull out a card and just write on that topic. And so you can use that time to practice. It doesn't necessarily have to be a topic that you're necessarily writing about in your book or in your blog. But you never know where it might lead. It just gives you a chance to just write about something. So it can help to start clearing up those writer blocks that you have. So making sure you have the right tools when you have the time, when you get the time. And then knowing what you're going to write about helps you to make the most use of that time. So you're not feeling like, I don't have the time, I don't know what to do. You actually have some methods to be able to do that. The other thing that you might want to think about if you're struggling with finding the time is booking some specific time. One of my favorite things to do, and I don't get to do it as often as I would like, but every chance I get, I try to do this. I will take a writer's weekend. I will find a place that I want to go in back at Christmas time, this past Christmas, I took 3 days after Christmas. So I left the day after Christmas Day, and I was gone for 3 days. And for those of you who don't know, I live in Georgia. So I went up into the North Georgia mountains. I went to a place called Chateau Elan, which is has an inn and a winery right next door. Beautiful property. I wanted somewhere that had some outdoor space. The weather was absolutely gorgeous, which we tend to have this happen at Christmas time a lot in Georgia. We have this really warm weather that comes through. So the days were warm, the nights were very pleasant. So, and I found some really nice outdoor space, some really nice indoor space. And I just blocked some time off for myself just to be creative. And I didn't spend all three, every day for all 3 days just sitting and writing, but I did some brainstorming. I did some writing. I did some project work. I did some of the things that you have to do when you're writing books, thinking about what do you want for the cover? What do you want? What does your bio need to look like? Just those types of things. And just had a lovely time. I was there by myself. It was kind of quiet because it was the holidays. So I felt so productive and so incredibly inspired by the location, the weather, being able to be outdoors, being able to just take a breath from everything that's been going on in my life. So it was just a really lovely 3 days away from just my normal routine. And I'm not saying that that's something you have to do, but it's an option. If you have the opportunity to just take yourself away for even an overnight, or even just, a day somewhere, go to the beach, go to a park, find some different scenery. And I think you'll find that the change in scenery will help you to become much more inspired. So the other thing that might help, and this is another story from Maya Angelou, she did an interview and she talked about her writing process. And she actually was able to, she approached writing as a job. So she actually took herself to work every day, and her work was her writing. And I know that a lot of us are not full-time writers, and that may not necessarily be feasible, but there may be a way that we can put time aside, if it's possible, maybe the first hour after you wake up. Or if you don't have time in the first hour after you wake up, a lot of people that I talk to actually set their alarm for 30 minutes ahead, or an hour before they typically wake up, just to give themselves a little more time, a little extra time to do some writing. Or at night, if you typically go to bed at 10 o'clock, maybe go to bed at 10:30 and spend that extra 30 minutes doing some writing. And it doesn't have to be, like I said, it doesn't have to be on the project. You can just be doing some brainstorming, or just working through maybe some writing block challenges, maybe do some writing exercises during that time. So I think the main point is, if you're committed, if it's something you really want to do, there are ways to find time to do this. And I think if you very thoughtfully and very purposefully schedule those times and find ways, when you have a spare 15 minutes, or changing the time you get up, or changing the time that you go to bed, or purposefully scheduling some time away, those are the ways you can write a book in a few months, 15 minutes a day. I think you would be really surprised, even if you just took 15 minutes a day, how quickly you could get your stories written and how quickly you can get through your chapters. It's really just finding the few minutes and finding the focus to do it. So I would love to hear your stories. I would love to hear any methods that you have for finding time to write and how you get through those challenges. So head over to my website, execuwrite.com, and send me an email and let me know what you are doing to help find time and help find ways to get your writing done. Until next time, I really enjoyed this. I'm so excited about the guest that we're going to be having next week. Just to give you a little prompt, she has 2 books. Until the next time, my name is Jennifer Wright, and this is The Author's Way.